Hello and welcome back. Apologies for the delay since the last video. I know it's been a couple of weeks. I'm now back here in the UK, as you can see, and in this video I'm just going to be tying up everything that's happened in the last couple of weeks, including this final video on the Mexico trip covering Merida in the Yucatan Peninsula and also one of the 7 wonders of the world, Chichén Itzá, and also explaining about how I caught COVID on the way home, which explains the slight delay, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about my experience and give you an update on things here in the UK. But first, after visiting Palenque, which was the previous video, I took a bus to Merida, which is the colonial town in Yucatan, and we'll do a flashback to when I filmed bits and pieces touring the town in Merida. Hello once again, buenas tardes, and welcome back to Mexico. This is going to be my final video in the series, and I'm starting here on my balcony or terrace of the room, the loft I'm staying at Viva Merida Hotel. Let me give you a quick room tour to show you what it's like. So this is the room here at Viva Merida. Beautiful lighting and the ensuite just beside the bed. Stairs up to the second floor, TV just here with a fridge and some pans to do cooking, along with a microwave and everything you need, dining table, worktop behind me, and another sofa. Views of central Merida, the historic center, bathtub just outside there. On the terrace, views of the courtyard of the hotel here, sun shining beautifully between the trees there, and nice area to sit out and soak up the historic center, which is just stone's throw away. There are also other double rooms available, not just the loft, which have second floors, and some of them have more facilities than others, all built around a courtyard in the center of the hotel where you can have breakfast in the mornings in a very peaceful manner, looking up towards the blue sky above, and good quality of food, and overall a very nice experience here in a hotel that reflects the colonial style architecture of this pastel colored city, the capital of Yucatan. Right now I'm going to head out as I walk through the hotel to the streets of Merida and explore the evening vibe of one of Mexico's safest and most relaxing cities. Now out here on the breezy streets of Merida and Viva Merida, behind me there, do check it out. The link in the video description if you're interested in staying here during your time in the city. So first place on the agenda to see here is one of the liveliest plazas in all of Mexico, Plaza Grande, at the heart of Merida, and it's shaded by beautiful trees. We have the sunlight bursting through right now here in the late afternoon, and actually was the original center of what was Tho, the settlement that was pre-Hispanic before the Spanish came and renamed it Merida after they saw a piece of Maya architecture here that reminded them of the city of Merida in Spain, and hence that's how it took its name. And this was the original social and religious center of what was Tho. Today it's surrounded by colorful colonial buildings and a great big church overlooking it. San Ildefonso, the church that the Spanish built on top of a Maya temple when they arrived at Tho after conquering Campeche. Yucatan was next on their list. Just past something Very interesting here on the street, which you may find all over Merida. A Makesh beetle, if I pronounce the name of the beetle correctly, decorated with jewelry. And that's done based on an old Yucatan legend. Someone buys one of the beetles and keeps it in a box for their lover. Beautiful buildings everywhere you look. The city's theatre and the university on this side. Pretty colourful hotels, like a pastel painting. So as you may know, Yucatecan food is famous for Chichén Itzá pibil and a bunch of other things, which I've tried in some of the other videos. However, today I'm here in the Museo de la Gastronomía Yucateca to try the relleno negro, which is a black dark chili sauce with turkey, and there's also some egg here. Looks kind of similar to the black mole negro in Oaxaca. Let's try a little bit of the sauce quickly. It's darker, and it definitely has that kind of almost bitter taste, but there's more salt, more of a salty flavor in this one. And I think I actually prefer it to the mole negro in Oaxaca. Kind of a strange looking dish. This is just one of the many amazing restaurants in Merida that you can visit. From Merida, I then took a mini bus to Chichén Itzá, which takes about an hour and a half. And I stayed in the nearby town for one night, as I wanted to visit the following morning to avoid the crowds, get the cooler temperatures, and also capture it in the morning light. Now inside the site, and El Castillo, the landmark temple, rises and opens out above you in all its glory here in the early morning, with the sun shining on it gracefully. The original temple that was at this spot dates back to about 800 AD, but what we see today has been added to. The Toltecs put their mark with a feathered serpent's head, which has the effect of sliding down during the spring or autumn equinoxes, and also warriors at the entrance by the top, which you can no longer climb after a woman sadly fell to her death in 2006. And this is all one great big Maya calendar made of stone. Despite all the difficulties that the pandemic has brought tourism, perhaps the one shining light is that sites like this have had a chance to breathe. And look at it here. Early in the morning, I came at the entrance time 8 AM, and there is almost nobody to compete with at all. I think normally you would find huge crowds here, all for the entrance time, but right now I have the space and the luxury to enjoy it in peace. To add to what I've already said about El Castillo, each of its 9 levels are divided in two by a staircase, making 18 separate sections commemorating the 18 20-day months of the Maya year. The 4 stairways then have 91 steps each, which if you times by 4 and add the top platform to that number, the total is 365, the number of days in a calendar year. El Castillo is the main attraction and star of the show at Chichén Itzá, and everything else pales in comparison to it. But there are some other interesting places worth taking a look at. The first being the Gran Juego de Pelota, the largest and most impressive ball court in all of Mexico. It's based on the ancient game where the objective is to hit the solid ball through one of the stone hoops, claiming victory for one side. The Plataforma de los Cráneos, or Platform of the Skulls, is a quite interesting T-shaped platform which used to display the heads of sacrificial victims, and you can see the skulls on the carvings representing this. Further away, there's El Caracol, an observatory dome with windows that align with the stars on certain dates, and it was from this dome that priests decreed the time for rituals, celebrations, and harvests. The price to enter Chichén Itzá is higher than other places in Mexico. It's 533 pesos for a regular adult, which is around just over 26 US dollars, or just underneath 20 pounds. After visiting Chichén Itzá, I booked a flight back home to the UK from Cancun, stopping in Madrid on the way. And in order to get to the airport, I went to Playa del Carmen for a couple of days before moving on to Cancun itself. And to be honest, I didn't really like the feel or vibe of either, especially Cancun. It felt overpriced, over touristy, and a little bit tacky in places. And perhaps that's mainly down to the fact that it was the summer season for a lot of Americans and Europeans, and all the prices of the hotels in the hotel zone was sky high. And yeah, I didn't really like it that much, but if you know me in my videos, I guess that's not really a surprise, as I don't really do beach resorts very much, apart from for a couple days at the end. And I think if I was to return to that area, I'd want to visit places like Holbox, Isla Mujeres, or Tulum. But let me know in the comments below if you know that part of Mexico well, and if you have any recommendations. As part of the rules for coming back from Mexico at that time, I had to self-isolate for 10 days upon coming home, as well as taking a test 72 hours before flying back, which actually came back negative, and then take a test on day 2 and day 8 of my self-isolation back here in the UK. My day 2 test is what came back positive, so I can only imagine that I would have picked it up in one of the airports coming home, maybe in Mexico, maybe in Madrid, maybe in Gatwick in London, or on one of the flights, or taking the train from Gatwick Airport to my hometown. So at any of those places, I probably picked up COVID. The main reason I actually wanted to come home was to get vaccinated, as my age group is now qualified in the UK, or was sometime during the middle of my Mexico trip. And I fell at the last hurdle. I managed to go to Italy last year, Czech Republic, Egypt, and now Mexico, without picking it up until right at the very end. I always knew the risk of picking up COVID, and I always thought it was probably quite likely that I might get it at some point, but in order to kind of keep my channel going as best I can and earn a bit of money from the videos, I was trying to do it as safely and as appropriately as possible, but of course always doing my best not to risk it too much. And I was avoiding staying with families, which is what I usually do, and all the rest of it. But there you go, I'm okay now. I will talk a little bit about my experience having it and the symptoms that I had. I'm walking through a park in Cambridgeshire, which is near my house right now. Symptoms wise though, the headache was the worst for me. It felt like a migraine at its peak for a couple of days. I also did get a fever. I felt cold at different times, and then also sweating through the night, and also a cough. It started with that tickly throat, and then the cough gradually got worse. I never lost my sense of smell or taste though, which was good, and I still had my appetite the whole time. And for a week or so after my 10 days since my symptoms started was over, the cough was still lingering, but apart from that, I'm completely fine now and I'm barely coughing anymore. So that was my experience with it unvaccinated. I'm going to get my 2 doses while I'm home now before my next trip. And let me know if you have any ideas where it will be. It's very difficult to determine right now, given that there's just so many COVID policies, red, amber and green for the UK, giving different countries criteria, and then also the entry requirements of each country, and then the chances of the cases going up in those countries and they're closing their borders, or the UK adding it to its red list. So there's many factors to take into account, but let's see. So what's next? Well, in the meantime, while I get my doses, I will upload a couple of videos that I never did. One of them being the holy city of Medina in Saudi Arabia. I filmed that on my GoPro, but I never actually put it out. I can't wait to put that one together and show everybody. Incredible insight to a city that not many non-Muslims have really visited in the past. So there's that one, and also some reflection videos on previous moments of different trips I've done. Perhaps some from Algeria, from India, Pakistan. Some interesting stories that I didn't tell necessarily in my vlogs. And also a Q&A, I think, at some point. I will let people know on my Instagram, Jason Billum Travel, that I'm going to do a live Q&A a couple days before. And write some questions below if you have any in the meantime. A quick word on Mexico. I really enjoyed my time in one of the largest countries in Latin America. So rich in culture, the food, friendly people, amazing history. It has that comfort zone of being quite developed in a lot of places, but then it also has that developing world feel with some of its street food and markets, etc. So you can kind of get a little bit of everything in Mexico, which I really like. I'm going to continue working on my Spanish while I'm home in the UK. I have a teacher and I'm getting some lessons, and I'm going to do a little bit of immersion and try and get to the point where I'm much more conversational in the future, so when I visit South and Central America I can actually interact with some more locals. So thank you very much if you watched the Mexico series, and I hope you found it enjoyable and useful. I'm going to chime in with an update very soon on one of the future videos. Hopefully things will continue to improve around the world. I know lots of countries are still far behind in terms of vaccinations and, you know, resurgences in cases, but on the whole, Europe's getting there, developed countries are getting there. Let's hope that more developing countries get vaccinations and travel opens up a little bit more. Fingers crossed, and I'll chime in with an update very soon.